said it was impossible. They said, you can't put together the most elite team of comic book reviewers on the planet and do, a podcast or something like that? Despite all that, today we can proudly announce. Yeah, they were right. We couldn't do it. So instead, we brought you the most vile, ignorant, unprofessional group of comic book enthusiasts we could find. This is Panel to Panel, the Game Rage Magazine comic podcast.
Oh man, that's right. Here we are back again for another episode of Panel to Panel. And even though this has nothing to do with comic books, I just want to say how fucking much I hate Tenacious D and how fucking I'm just so disappointed in them. If you want to hear our full comments on the Tenacious D situation, you can go listen to All Gas, No Trash, where we will probably talk about that in depth.
Tenacious
on the next
D,
episode.
I know what it stands for. It stands for copulating Donald Trump's balls furiously, fellatio to the nth degree.
That's terrible. Disgusting. Anyways, but if you do want to listen to other podcasts that we have, such as All Gas, No Trash, and maybe even No Party Preference, there's thousands. We have literally thousands of podcasts. We have the greatest number of podcasts. No other podcast network has as many podcasts as we do, okay? GameRageMagazine.com. Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine. Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. All Gas, No Trash official for Adam if you want to hear the official Instagram account of the Game Rage Music Podcast, All Gas, No Trash. Anyways, yes, go ahead.
Now we're going to get another healthy dose of another D.
Oh,
The big D.
A double D, if you will.
A double D, if you will. That is issue number 2 of Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto's Daredevil series. A banger of a fucking series. And man, I can't wait to get to this one. This one's fucking great.
I think Daredevil is the true and real Tenacious D. All right. That's it. He's the new Tenacious D.
True.
I have to say, I like these covers that are in this, like, his vision or whatever with the echolocation vision. And it's like everything's like basically just hazy black and white. And then all the shit that he can actually see is in like red or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, it's pretty decent and it's pretty all right. I think it was Alex Maleev that makes these covers. I forget the guy's name, but it's something Maleev, but hitting it out of the park with everything as far as covers go, especially with the things near him.
Oh yeah.
The water tower in a building and presumably using his echolocation or his radar sense of like everything around him. And then of course in obscurity, there's like these other buildings, but he's just kind of getting a sense of everything around him, which is really cool.
So is it echolocation or is it radar? Like what is it exactly?
I would have to look that up because I forget what it actually is, but I think his senses are so heightened that like him walking near a building and then, it might be like it might be echolocation or something, because if he talks into a wall, he's able to like sense it visually or even through.
But I feel like he's constantly like pinging it out, right?
Yeah.
It's not just off of other sounds, but he's like sending out the signal to bounce back or whatever, right?
Or that he is just, I don't know, dude. You have to look it up. Or you want to get that out of the way?
Oh yeah, I'm looking it up right now. But while I'm doing that, I'm curious to know, do you think that like if there was a Daredevil villain that could really fucking have a like go at him, that was like this is stupid because it's like I didn't come up with the name, but let's say it's just like the military industrial complex and they have like a guy coated in like stealth fighter armor, so like his radar doesn't see it. Like it doesn't pick up the guy or whatever, and he's basically invisible to Daredevil, and that's like the counter to him. Yeah. He's using stealth fighter technology.
But as it's noted in the book, he's capable of hearing a heartbeat, so that it also had to cover
sound too, right? Like
whatever antagonist you're talking about, that he would also have to censor or suppress his heartbeat as well.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna call these guys up and be like, hey, you want a pretty all right villain? to be in the next Daredevil. Let's go.
I mean, if anybody's gonna do it, it's like a ninja because they try to be as stealthy as possible. So,
and do like, they can do that thing where they suppress their heartbeat so they only beat one heartbeat per fucking hour or some shit like that. I mean, it just says it's superhuman senses.
yeah.
So it's super enhanced hearing and touch.
So maybe that in combination gives him some type of visual on his surroundings. All of his senses give him the ability to give him a visual of what he's around.
Oh my God. It says he has to compensate for the loss of his sight, he has 4 superhuman senses: touch, smell, hearing, and taste. Man, I wonder what that's like to eat shit when it's like ultra magnified or whatever.
Yeah, like a fucking dog or something.
That'd be crazy. All right. Well, anyways.
All right. So we open with Cole North just working a punching bag. And so we're introduced to these 2 characters who is Cole's partner named Fred. And Cole is a man standing on business. And this new character is introduced, not even sure who she is, but she's just kind of talking about like how I don't know if she was thirsty for Cole, but she mentions like, oh, he's pretty fine. I have a cousin that is would be quick to date this fellow, and they're like, nah, but let's get down to business. Let's talk about this Cole North guy. And Fred mentions that they're after the Daredevil, and Dee Dee. So we're getting to the next page where Dee Dee is recapping the situation of the criminal whose death everybody is thinking that he's responsible for, and says that the word is getting out quick that Daredevil is possibly responsible for this guy's death. And his good boy, his homie Foggy, is concerned with Matt, and Matt is Daredevil, just to reiterate. Matt doesn't think that Foggy can help him with this particular situation, and Matt is trying to get across to Foggy's, like, he thinks he's being set up. He doesn't know who. He's thinking maybe Wilson Fisk or Kingpin, as he's known. Or maybe somebody else. He doesn't know who the fuck it is, but he thinks he's being set up. And Foggy's like, man, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but let's try to get this situation right. If you turn yourself in, let's clear your name, and maybe they'll fucking keep your mask on so that you don't have to expose your identity. And then Matt Murdock, who's Daredevil, he's saying, dude, if I fucking do that, like, it feels like it feels like an admission of guilt. Like, that if he ends up doing this, whatever Foggy's instructing him to do, that he's basically giving in that he's fucked. And Foggy, at the very least, is suggesting, hey, while you're fucking doing this, you're figuring out your own case, how about you take off the DD costume, the Daredevil costume, so that people don't go after you? And he's like, no, that would be fucking admitting guilt. I don't want to do that. If I do that, then I just don't want to do that. And Foggy, sorry, I lost my place. So Matt is still looking for answers. Thinks he's possibly being set up by cops, and Matt ends up going to this doctor that ended up working on all the people, these criminals that Daredevil basically beat the shit out of. And Dee Dee, Daredevil, is interrogating the doctor, and the doctor is saying that guy was going to basically die anyways. He had a brain contusion or a dural hematoma, which is probably causing his brain to swell, and he was fucked from the get-go. There was no surgery that was going to help him, and he thinks that whatever Daredevil did to him, he basically killed him. He fucked up, and he knows how precise Daredevil is as far as his martial arts goes. He knows that he's smart enough to basically kick guys' ass carefully so that he doesn't end up killing them. But he's like, you fucked up. You can't escape this fate. And then Daredevil basically fucks off. And so then we cut over to, or rather, one of the last things that the doctor says to Daredevil is like, you have all these amazing things that you can do, and yet you chose to be Daredevil when you could have been serving people in some other manner. And that's when Daredevil fucks off. So then we cut back to Cole North, who's on the Daredevil's case, and they're actually on their way to go visit the mayor, who's Wilson Fisk. And all the pages with Cole North have like these little internal monologues, and he's talking about his partner, and he says, oh yeah, this guy Fred is like, he's easygoing, he's tranquil right now, but for me, I'm screaming internally, not out of fear but anticipation. And I'm not even exactly sure that's the case, because when he actually meets Wilson Fisk, like, he's like, oh fuck, like, this is the guy, like,
yeah,
this is the guy that I've been hearing about. Because he actually brings up somewhere in one of these pages, he's like, Wilson Fisk or Kingpin is the one guy every cop wants to fucking go after, like, even in Chicago. And so Cole and Fred meet up with Wilson Fisk, and he brings up that statement about all cops wishing that they could handcuff Wilson Fisk behind bars. So then Cole mentions that Dee Dee and Fisk have had this past antagonistic relationship, and he knows that Fisk wants Daredevil behind bars. And Wilson Fisk like brings up this thing. He's like, oh, I believe in law and order. And Cole's like, ha, that's rich, knowing that you're a fucking criminal mastermind. Like, for you to believe in law and order, that's hilarious. And Fred states that he doesn't believe anyone should be above the law, like Daredevil or literally any citizen in New York. Yeah. I particularly love this specific page that you have pulled up, because while Fred is delivering this dialogue about how he believes that justice there's nobody above the law. Everybody in that panel with like the assistant, Cole North, and Fred, they're all seen on equal grounds, right? Like, they're all roughly the same height. And then you have the following panel with Wilson Fisk like towering over fucking everybody. To me, that denotes that or implies that Wilson Fisk is above the law. Like, he has his finger over everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I was going to say, too, that this was like so fucking perfect. Like, everybody looks like they're all on the same level until he starts talking about thinking people being above the law. And then he fucking stands up and he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, bitch, I am above the law. It's basically what he's implying with that, which is fucking cool.
Yeah. So Fisk is he is familiar with Cole North. Doesn't know him personally, but he's just kind of like, he's like, oh, man, you came all the way from Chicago. And you left behind your whole life, your friends, your family, your poor Anna. Like, basically letting them know, like, hey, I know who your whole family is. If you ever fucking do shit, I'm gonna do something about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care of this shit.
So Fisk is basically intimidating Cole, reminding him what he's left behind, and mentions his family by name, which is like fucking scary. And the convo ends, and Cole and Fred fuck off. And they basically tell Fisk, like, hey, we're going to put a security unit on you and make sure that you're good. Like, nothing happens to you with Daredevil. And as they're walking away, within, I think, Cole's internal monologue, he says, well, first we're going to get Daredevil. I'm going to get this son of a bitch fucking Wilson Fisk. Like, he's fucking next after I get my guy, or after we get Daredevil. And then he says something like, after meeting Wilson Fisk, he's like, he's only just a man. He smells like meat
And aftershave.
and aftershave, but he's like, he's only a fucking man. And then, so after these cops end up getting out of the mayor's office, Wilson Fisk's office, his assistant, Kingpin's assistant's like, hey, this whole Daredevil business, like this murder, are you in on that? What's going on with that? He's like, man, if that was fucking me, I would be boasting about it. He's like, it's not fucking me. Like I didn't fucking do it. And I really love this set of panels, like just under as Kingpin is basically telling him like, I didn't fucking do it. And Daredevil's like listening in the distance and hearing this conversation. Is like, fuck, man. He's like, this guy's heartbeat didn't skip it. He's telling the truth. So we go from Daredevil being in a position of like authority or superiority to him having like this. It seems like he's in a position of power when you see him like surveying Wilson Fisk.
Yeah.
And then you have like this sense of hopelessness that like maybe it's starting to set in that he fucking committed this crime because he's like stooped over this little fucking water gutter thing or the water drain. Yeah, I got a sense of hopelessness within this panel.
Oh yeah, that definitely portrays it. He's just like, oh, fuck. He's like, great. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what the fuck? And I was implying that he's like, fuck, either I did do this by accident or fuck, there's someone I don't know about that's trying to fuck with me.
Right.
And that's likely terrifying for him.
Right. So then we cut over to Matt walking over to the church, and he's looking for this guy named Father Simmons, and he's encountering this nun named Sister Elizabeth, and he's telling Elizabeth, like, dude, I need to talk to this priest. Like, I've basically done something that people are deeming as unforgivable, and I don't know if there's any coming back from this. And Matt is like telling this nun, like, all I wanted to do was help people, and I don't know what's going to happen. And the nun's telling Matt, like, everything is forgivable, and if you want to help people, then do the right thing, like help people, like you said you want to. So then DD or Daredevil is on the prowl and wipes out some criminals, and this is to show, or at least my interpretation is that Daredevil's getting back in the swing of things. He's being more precise about his level of like execution, about how he's fighting criminals and stuff to make sure that he doesn't kill somebody again. And Matt's like having this internal conversation within himself that basically everybody's afraid of him as the devil. Like, who's going to believe somebody that is dressed as the devil for this particular situation he's in with the murder of a criminal that he may or may not be responsible for, that the criminals are afraid of him, and even the victims of these criminals are afraid of him. And he's like, you know, really in a contemplative state. So, and even in like the last panel and these last couple pages, we get the idea that, well, if Foggy doesn't believe me, my closest homie, then fuck, dude, nobody's gonna believe, not even the heroes. So we see like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones seeing this news about the Daredevil, because they're kind of like within his posse and shit. So it's like,
yeah,
fuck, if Foggy doesn't believe me, nobody else is gonna believe me. And then we get these other two pages. I actually don't know who this villain is, but one of the things that Matt also says is that Matt is questioning if villains will band together against him, because now they know that it's life or death when they encounter him. And we're shown this character who looks like Sabretooth, but I know it's not Sabretooth. But this guy is in a meeting with like other villains, presumably. And Matt is still trying to like piece together any info. So he ends up going back to the crime scene where the explosion happened at this bodega. He's like, fuck, man, I don't know if I can find anything. Everything's waterlogged, and man, I don't know. He's using like his heightened senses to see if he can pick up on anything. And then he ends up getting spotted by Fred and Cole North. And so they end up getting in a skirmish, and Fred pulls out a fucking gun on him, and Daredevil like throws in a scream stick at him, and Cole North goes after him, and he has his gun drawn out, and he ends up getting knocked down, and Daredevil's like ready to do something to him, and then fucking Cole North pulls out his fucking gun, and all you see is bang, and we see Daredevil subdued in the next panel, and he's calling in the cops to I guess arrest Daredevil. So what a fucking way to follow up on issue 1 with Daredevil being fucking shot and Cole North getting his man.
Yeah, man, that was fucking cool. What a great way to fucking end it. And so here's the thing, not to talk shit about the Hulk, the other comic that we're reading, but that's your typical, like we said, it's set up different. It's bad guy of the week or it's problem of the week type of deal. This story already, episode 2 or issue 2, existential crisis regarding the main character. He's now fucked. He's now ending issue 2. He is now in the hands of the police. He's been shot and he's a true threat. He is clearly in fucking danger. Whereas with the Hulk, I don't know that the Hulk's ever actually really in danger. He's the fucking Hulk. Now, as we go later into that series, and I'm sure we'll see existential things that may really be threats to the Hulk, but as the last 2 issues have shown, some gangbangers and some biker gang guys and a fucking radioactive dude are not fucking threats at all. Issue 2, Daredevil is basically cooked. And how the fuck's he gonna get out of this one now?
Yeah, the degree of escalation within 2 issues, talking about the dynamic of the 2 comics we're reading within Immortal Hulk and Daredevil. And not to say that there's neither one is wrong or right about how they're approaching and storytelling, but it's becoming evident that Immortal Hulk is more of a slow burn type of situation. That yes, you will get standalone stories, but there is an overarching story.
Right, yeah.
And this one does too, but this one gets to the point quicker.
Yes.
And it also escalated far quicker within 2 issues than it did compared to Immortal Hulk.
Yeah,
so
true.
I know this is something that you guys talked about in the anime podcast, that you guys were talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. I know I'm going to go off on a tangent, but I think it's relevant to...
Yeah, it's relevant.
I think it's relevant to this... to storytelling itself, that you were talking about Jujutsu Kaisen taking too fucking long to get to the goddamn point, and this particular comic is able to push all the characters, get to learn a little bit about all the characters, but the plot hits the points at a very good clip, I suppose. No pun intended.
Is this thing still going on?
No, it's finished.
Okay, because I mean, they only got 32 or 36 issues.
Yeah, there's more.
Or there's more than that?
Yeah, there's an event, there's an actual blockbuster event within the Daredevil comic that happens, I don't know at what point. But then the Daredevil gets relaunched again with the same team. So there's like Daredevil 2022 is like the restart of it.
Oh, so they did this thing and then...
Don't ask me why they decided to restart the count again, but they end up doing another Daredevil series, which is just a continuation
of this. Oh, okay. But I mean, as it sits right now with this initial run from 2019, they already probably knew they were only going to get this 36 issue run from the beginning. So they're like, fuck it, we got to get to the point. We got to crack shit off. Where Hulk is like in the 50s, I think, that series. So maybe there's a little more time to get to the point. Whereas this one's like, all right, man, let's get this cracking.
I'm sure they didn't know either, because Hulk is it's hit and miss as far as like the stories. And for a long time, Hulk, the series, on and off, like, was not particularly good for a long time. Like, probably not since World War Hulk or some of, I think like one other ongoing series. Like, everything after these 2 series were not particularly good. So I don't think Immortal Hulk was in any better position than Daredevil. So like, yeah, I'm sure they had the idea about what they were going to do, but yeah, they were lucky enough to get 50 issues, but I'm sure they were just as concerned about what they were going to be able to accomplish. But yes, this one is a bit of a slower burn, but it's also like two different.
It's two different. Yeah, you can't. I don't think they're apples and oranges, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see like, oh man, this one's like, bam, out the gate. That's why I said it's not a fair comparison to compare the two like this, but it's interesting in the mechanisms of storytelling and the way that two separate books are being told it's the same medium, it's comic books, right? But it's like the way you tell the story is like completely different from one another, which is great. It's just like, in movies or TV or whatever. Yes, there's multiple ways to tell a story, right? And so this one, Daredevil, banger.
Oh yeah.
Off the gate.
I'm dude, it's kind of hard for me to like read Immortal Hulk because I've read it before. I mean, I don't remember everything, but it is hard for me to read this because, yes, I think Immortal Hulk is like fucking awesome, but I also know what's going to happen to some degree based on like what I remember. But reading Daredevil, I mean, shit, I have like something of a biased opinion because I read one of the comic books, but reading Daredevil, I'm like, this is kind of like exceeding Hulk.
Oh yeah. Listen, having never read Hulk previously, I currently, yes, Daredevil is the number one. It is the clear favorite out of these two.
Yeah.
And I think this was a good idea to do two different comics at the same time because now, like, yes, even though it's not a fair comparison, I mean, we can't do that and be like, oh yeah, listen, Daredevil's cracking. But who knows? Maybe when Hulk gets into that crazy epic shit, maybe Daredevil kind of parses back down a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm thinking Daredevil is just going to be banger after banger after banger.
That's the theory that I have right now. Is I think that it's just going to be killing it, and then I think Hulk will eventually get to the fucking point. But and who knows? Maybe what the scale of what Hulk does is more of a what you want to call like an epic scale where. Maybe this is, maybe there's some intergalactic shit that goes on. I don't know. Maybe there's some crazy shit. He goes into another dimension. I don't know. This will likely just be Daredevil in fucking, New York or who knows? Who the fuck knows?
I don't know, but I just know that I already get the feeling. I mean, just within a sample of 2 issues, dude. The thing about them escalating to this point where Daredevil is already being put in an impossible situation. That is fucking immaculate, extraordinary storytelling because the best thing you can do for a story is put your hero in a fucking situation you don't know how they're going to get out of.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Hulk is basically like the equivalent of Superman, that he's basically invulnerable to everything. And we haven't had a situation where the Hulk has had to face adversity just yet. But maybe his war is not against like a physical enemy, but like more of an existential thing.
Yeah, he's fighting himself and his fucking multiple Hulk personalities. Or whatever. Which really is the only threat to the Hulk is himself. Like that's I guess the gist of it. But man, fucking.
I just gotta say though, Daredevil. I'm looking forward to reading this comic like far more than I am Immortal Hulk right now.
Oh yeah, Immortal Hulk is almost like an afterthought at this point. It's like, well, we said we were going to do it, so we need to fucking do it. But this Daredevil is the for sure favorite, and I am very much looking forward to the next episode of issue of Daredevil number 3. Daredevil goes to jail.
Yeah,
like, that's
even the visual storytelling. Like I was saying, the things that I noted before about the artist. Marco Cicchetto having all the characters that are presented within one page being on equal grounds, like they're roughly equal height, and then fucking Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, just towering over everybody, specifically depicting that he is above everybody and above the law and everybody's under his thumb. Like, that shit's crazy.
That is crazy.
And also like the thing about Daredevil coming to the realization that he might actually be guilty, that Wilson Fisk was telling the truth, and you have him stooped over some rooftop and he's like, fuck beans, I'm fucked.
Fuck, maybe I did kill this guy. Shit.
But also like the radar shit or the visual of how he sees the world in his blindness, like that shit's fucking cool, dude.
Yeah, it is really fucking cool. So I was never really a huge Daredevil guy prior to this. And now I have to say,
It's becoming, it's
2 episodes in.
It's fucking sweet, dude.
It's sweet as shit. Daredevil's up there for sure. So, anyways, all right, cool. Well, fuck, that's a good one.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Let's get the fuck out of here. Anyways, go to GameRageMagazine.com, at Game Rage Magazine, Instagram and TikTok, at Game Rage Mag on Twitter/X. All Gas No Trash official for Adam. Fucking A. Good work. We'll catch you on the next one.
That was Panel to Panel, the Game Rage Magazine comic book podcast. Thanks for listening. If you want to know more and follow along, go to Instagram and TikTok. Follow at Game Rage Magazine. If you want to follow on Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. Tune in next time.